What's up, folks? Welcome to Nino's Corner.tv. I'm with Daniel and Derek Saltar. Very interesting story here. This is the grandsons of Daniel Saltar, who had a military Cosmos clearance. Now, this is like levels ahead of or levels above even the president, from what I understand. So the stuff your grandfather knew and hopefully passed down to you guys is pretty damn incredible. And people need to know about this stuff because it's real. Whether you want to believe it in or not, this really existed. Your grandfather had a cosmic clearance, cosmos clearance. Whether my audience, a lot of them go to the believe the biblical version of the earth, the flat earth. There's so many different interpretations here and different perspectives on how they view our reality. But nonetheless, your grandfather still had a cosmos clearance. It did exist, and he told you a lot about, I guess, could we say, the technologies and some of the secrets. Guys, welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for having us. It's always great to be here. Yeah.
So, who do I start with? I mean, let's do recap on your grandfather first of all to my audience that do not know who this man truly is. A great, unbelievable story. If you want to, I guess, Derek, are you the one sharing the screen that want to starts off with this, folks? We're gonna do a little. It's like a PowerPoint presentation. I highly suggest really paying attention to this.
Yeah, we're gonna skim through it quickly, but I'll let my brother kind of recap who he is real quick.
Yeah. Our grandfather, Daniel Saltar, born in 1928. He joined the Air Force in 1947, the year it was established, actually. After his career, 21-year career, he became an operative in the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, which was a secretive organization until about the mid 90s. They were a division under NSA, and he was one of the 21 witnesses in the Disclosure Project with Dr. Stephen Greer in 2001 that came forward in the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. to give their testimony about UFOs, extraterrestrials, crashes, things of that nature. In
Now, he's the
2003,
guy with he's the guy with the glasses in the back behind his shoulder, correct?
yeah,
That's
he's
right.
behind Clifford Stone there, who's very well known from that event coming forward about all the ET species that they have at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the various different ones they interacted with and had protocols on how to handle them. Actually, they were so at depth in dealing with them. But yeah, our grandfather right there, he wrote a book in 2003, a couple years later, called Life with a Cosmos Clearance. And so, what is a Cosmos Clearance? It, according to him, is classified top secret clearance, 38 levels above top secret. In his Disclosure Project testimony, he says he calls it a cosmic clearance, but then his book says Cosmos clearance. So there may be some discrepancies there on purpose, perhaps, of not wanting to really say everything he knew. In his book and in his testimony, it's very clear to us that we've come to confirm really that he did not disclose a lot of what he knew for his own safety and for the safety of his family, because there was a lot of pressure around people coming forward with this information at that time, and the implications of what that might mean, showing real proof documentation that we have advanced technologies that would impact the current economy today with what we rely on, oil and things like that. So there's a lot of pressure on these witnesses not to come forward, and people who have come forward have suffered the consequences. So he was very well aware of that. And yes, with the Cosmos secret, top secret clearance, he was, like I said, 38 levels above. I think the president's at like 17, so it's well above that. He said only about
So
25 people.
the president is at 17 and he's at what?
38.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so it's very
many things wrong with
compartmentalized
that.
because it's so secretive though, and compartmentalized that,
Compartmentalize, yeah.
yeah, every little clearance that you always think you're at the top because you don't know about what else is up there, right?
Right, yeah.
They all talk
Need
to
to
each
know
other.
basis, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. He said only 25 people in the world knew stuff that was at his level.
So he wouldn't be considered a man in the Men in Black, though. That's probably levels above him, correct?
He was aware of those teams, and actually, he was around before those teams came into being. He was part of
So
the
he
original.
was one of the first set of the Men in Black. There's like three
Really?
scenes that come through. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he was an actual Man in Black. Like he would, because I've always heard rumors that, and how would I know? Like they're actual like breakaway species or aliens that actually they look human, or they're clones or whatever they are. They're not human, and they visit you at your door when you see a UFO. They kind of just like the movie. They do a mind eraser thing, and you don't know what happened. You know?
Yeah. So
Right.
he was like kind of a predecessor to that, where it started with Project Blue Book, where they're trying to basically the initial cover up of the UFO phenomena. If there was a crash or a sighting or anything, he would go around as his part of the team. He would come out and first try to convince people that they didn't see anything or it was some other type of phenomena. He said if that didn't work, then the second team would come in and they would start threatening these people and their families not to tell what they saw. And if that didn't work, they had these what do you call the double O boys, or they're whacking hunt assassins that would come in and take them out, basically. But
I mean,
as that
we're in a different time now, though, right? I mean, it seems like all. I mean, if you guys were putting this stuff out 10 years ago, 50, I mean, even 5 years ago, it was a different time, like a different paradigm. Now it's changing, right? Do you guys notice? Do you feel the shift of this, everything changing?
for
Yeah,
sure,
I do. And I feel like it's safer to come out and talk about this. There's so many of us, and it would be too obvious if someone gets taken out for even just saying stuff like this. It's obvious, like, okay, you're showing the world that there's truth to this, especially with the claims we're making. So I feel much safer in the community, at least, doing this. So it's a positive thing. It's a positive
yeah, and
shift.
and the government is sure has kind of strung along, its own narrative, making it more publicly known that there's something out there. Not obviously not disclosing the whole truth, but doing their own version of it. So
I feel like, yeah, they're doing their own version of disclosure because I think they're going to somehow play the alien card and
Yeah.
fool everybody into this mass deception, which is take away from God and introduce these beings as lowercase g's or as the ultimate G, and fool humanity into where we are seated by them and this and that. I don't know.
yeah, our grandfather warned about that specifically in his book. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Um, yeah,
And he's the
but
only one that mentioned this Alien Contact Intelligence Organization, ACIO. And if you go into the more conspiracy, I guess, of the full disclosure movements, that is talked about, the secret space program, that's an organization they talk about. So for him saying that in 2001 is a huge deal. Kind of just opens the door and gives credibility to that.
Now, when he was with Stephen Greer and all them in that disclosure project, he kind of freaked out, right? I remember you guys telling me that he actually got gun shy and closed off and didn't actually spill the beans, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
when they in that picture with when he was sitting behind Clifford Stone there when they were giving their testimonies, he got up and he just couldn't get it out. He didn't feel comfortable. Like, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying about feeling, threatened with coming forward with this information. And he actually we have from in our storage unit, we found the invitation letter from Dr. Greer for that entire event, and it was like a 5-day event for all the witnesses. And he left halfway through, and he just did not feel safe there. It was, yeah, there was definitely some pressure.
I bet you there was a lot of operatives in that crowd too, a lot of undercover personnel in there that probably was watching this whole thing go down. Probably not even human.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Could
yeah,
be, but like, and in the disclosure world, I mean, and I know you just had Laura Eisenhower on, and a lot of these people, we all know that they infiltrate these movements and these conferences a lot, and that's going to be at least one there every time. We even saw like a helicopter, it's like a black military helicopter coming by during the last conference we went to. Happened one night or
They're
one
probably
day.
just showing themselves like in intimidation purposes, right?
Yeah,
yep.
exactly. And I was
Don't
going to show
forget
you
we're
this
here.
real quick. This
Go
was
ahead.
just to show you what he looked like. This is the same week, like earlier that week, he came to Virginia to our house, and it's obviously my graduation, but he he looked in pretty good health. But I swear this was the same visit where later that week he went up to DC for that conference, and he just seems a little bit out of it, as you can tell here,
Yeah.
and just a little bit
He's
weaker.
definitely not comfortable. No, it took a
Yeah.
lot out of him. I can see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's something to that. We know now after hearing from Dan Willis, who met him personally, and when he was there, that yeah, he was afraid and likely targeted, and afraid for speaking out because of not only himself but for the family at that time. It was just too much to risk. And
Yeah,
we know that.
he's put you all in jeopardy by being there. He's got to think about his family, right? That's probably why he closed off.
Yeah.
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 And so there are some witnesses like Mark McCandlish. I mean, it was a strange death and within the last few years. So we know they've taken him out. I think they took out Clifford Stone's daughter or some relative. It seemed like really strange. So this has happened, and we know that it's
Scary
serious.
stuff, man. I mean, what you're messing with here, and you don't know. It's like Russian roulette. You just don't know what you're playing with.
Exactly.
Scary stuff, man, for sure.
But
well, let's continue
yeah,
the slides. Yeah, I mean, let's keep going here.
I'll go. Yeah, I'll try to go quickly. This was the first sighting supposedly he saw with the radar. He was running missions against SAC, Strategic Air Command, in Warner Robins Air Force Base in 49, all the way back in 49. But that's kind of how probably he got his clearance levels from that point on, based on what he saw and wanting to, kind of doing his own investigation of it and wanting to know more. They knew he was curious about it and kind of was brought into the whole Men in Black type of thing. One thing that he mentioned, though, is that by 1947, we in the military had known that our powerful radar, with the 1 to 5 million megawatts of radiated energy, could interfere with the balance and navigation of the ET craft. So, and he said, I worked on the project to do that. So interesting that he's stating back then that's exactly what was going on.
So our radar detection was knocking him out of the air.
Yeah, and it was on purpose, and this is very high powered radar. I mean, it's not like the conventional normal stuff. He and his team were working on them. I mean, I guess the high end, high tech things that we're trying to see what our capabilities were. And it wasn't like, for people to understand the technology and at least some of these beings, they kind of phase in and out of our reality. So they have to, in order to interact with us, they have to be in the 3D physical realm. So those ships, those craft have to come low and
okay. So let me ask you this: do we know they're coming from outer space, or are they coming from another dimension entirely?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of both, because as you go into farther out into space, you're talking about other dimensions too.
Well,
so
what did your grandfather tell you?
So I recall when in the mid 90s when he first started coming out with this information, just talking to, he was giving lectures and things like that, with whatever he felt comfortable talking about at that time. And I used to visit him out in New Mexico as a teenager, and he would tell me about interdimensional beings, that they did not need any physical bodies, except when they came into our dimension, they would materialize so that they could interact and with the physical matter of our reality. But they were like interdimensional light beings, is how he explained it, which blew my mind when I was like 16, 17 years old. I've never heard anything like that. Just trying to wrap my head around what that even means and how that works. That's what he claimed. And if
so,
certainly,
but did he prove to you, or was it proven to him, that these are actually coming from another solar system, constellation, planetary system, planet, or are they coming just from a different reality altogether? I mean, the physical world as we know it, right? Because I mean, to me, it seems that there's just so many unanswered questions here.
Yeah. So the way that I understand it from what gathering from his information is that they are from different galaxies, different planets, different locations within the universe, but they may not necessarily be visible in our dimension, and like the various different densities or dimensions that we can physically see, or it's not as dense as ours. They are existing on these physical locations, but in different
densities, different frequencies. So
yeah,
they could be an entirely different universe above ours, or frequency, and they just know. It's kind of like those old radios where you just you could adjust it. It's like that. They're able to go in and out of frequencies, right?
Yeah, and tune into the right one, and now we can see them. So it's they may have their whole existence in a much less dense dimension, on another planet that's in our solar system or in our galaxy, that we wouldn't see normally.
And that really makes more credibility to what he says. He says he dealt with investigated UFOs, aliens, and particleization, and that's the science behind what we're talking about, this technology, or even the human body itself being able to phase in and out into different dimensions, and that goes to time travel too. It's a whole other topic. But
so my question is, with all the infinite star clusters out there in galaxies, why do they have any interest in us?
Good question.
I guess
That's a
that
great
that's
question.
yeah,
And
I
and from what we've saw some video of him, some footage from the late '90s of him giving a lecture on some of this stuff, and he does talk about you know ET seeding the Earth and as an experiment kind of thing, and different genetics going on, and it seems like it's a melting pot of multiple species having their hands into the mix here, and us, they're very interested in how that plays out and what that looks like in this experiment. Yeah.
and because of that, their evolution and their ascension process is happens to us is a factor in all of that. So unless we evolve, they can only evolve so far, and vice versa. It's kind of
so
that
you're
type of
only as
thing.
strong as the weakest link.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard it put too that say at least this part of the universe or our species and who we are part of the heart of the universe in a way. So it's like the heart chakra. We have to evolve and we have to all kind of get past that stage, the lower stage, the next stage in order to move on as a collective, as a if you call it, consider the universe as a body, a human body or organism, right?
Interesting.
That's one of the so anyway, there's a couple new things we'll try to reveal to you here, but this is one of this is the business card he had, and I just wanted to share this because of the symbol it shows on here and some of the organizations the NRO he was involved with, obviously after retiring from the Air Force, that was his claim, and then the DCCCD was the Development of Conscious Contact Citizenry Department. It was a mouthful, but a secret organization within an NRO that had to deal with actually trying to get this information out. He said that Project Blue Book was considered UFO cover up, basically. But this DCCCD was considered UFO loosen up. So the whole point of that was to get people used to the idea that we are not alone. There are other species here. And whether they're good or bad, they can use it to their own agendas, right? A false flag invasion, or just at least getting us used to the idea of integrating these species with our own and how we're going to interact in the future, hopefully for the positive. But I thought that symbol was interesting, so I looked it up at some of these older orders and what these looked like. We know of the Knights Templar and all these variations of that, Hospitallers, but the symbol of this 4 stars he has on his card was similar to the Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, which has the 4 crosses that you see. So I just kind of made a note of that, and we happened to find this from our dad looked up his family lineage from Germany, and the darter or the daughter from Germany. That's the emblem, which actually looks kind of similar. But I wanted to show that because this all ties into Masonry and kind of what we're seeing play out on the world stage. So these are the actual memorabilia, the actual ring, and some of the stuff we found in storage. And our mom was a part of this order. Our grandfather had her go to a couple of these,
Your
gatherings.
mom, your mother, so your grandfather
Yes.
and mother were involved with the Eastern, what is it, the Eastern Star and the Masons or something like that?
Yes, the Order of the Eastern Star was the first to allow women into anyone that was related to a Mason. Obviously, a male Mason within a female within the family could also join and be a part of it. So that actually started in 1850. But this was just an interesting thing to see, and the symbolism they use of the pentagram, the 5-pointed star, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, our mom didn't stay in it, of course, but our grandfather just said, this is maybe you'll be interested for whatever reason. So he was a Mason, but he never heard. He claimed obviously that his father was a Mason and his grandfather a 33rd degree Mason, but he didn't want to say more than that regarding himself. So we can only imagine because it was part of the
I would
family
imagine
life.
you have to be a 33rd degree Mason or above to take part in any kind of thing like this, any kind of project like this, right?
Right, right. You're kind of grandfathered in, if you want to call it that, and then
Right.
you're going. And if you want to get to the higher clearances, you take that oath because the Masonic oath is kind of like that bond. If you look at all the presidents, most of all the NASA astronauts were Masons. All the landings on the moon were all like Masonic rituals,
Yeah, that's why they
basically.
say the eagle has landed.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
they're
a lot
putting
of
it right
that,
out there. Yeah.
right. So I wanted to just mention that, and then this is interesting to note. some of this testimony from the Disclosure Project in 2000, when he was video recorded saying this stuff about weather modification, directed energy weapons. He was laying it all out back then, saying there's something called over the horizon radar. It thins the ionosphere. It can affect flight, conventional flight. We can heat it up, ionosphere, heat it up, create earthquakes, create storms, steer hurricanes. Does that sound familiar to what we've seen?
Right.
Burning up a country with directed energy weapons. The lethargic soldiers or civilians, like the Havana syndrome, that was something he said that's definitely a possibility. He went in a lot about U.S. and Russia together and the nuclear arms race, putting actually nuclear weapons in space as a line of defense. Like that was going to be the threat, and so the reason to do that. And the Star Wars program was kind of what was taking place, although we just said it was for surveillance and other things, but they were doing some stuff, and I don't think at least the positive ETs didn't really agree with what they were doing. He also said he never saw reports of the ETs being hostile, but when he's saying that, he's saying unless they're threatened first, unless they're attacked or seen as be the aggressor, then they're gonna obviously retaliate or come back and do something. So that was the actual incident he mentioned with the 2 Russian MiGs and an American fighter jet who saw the whole thing. But the Russian MiGs turned on their missile activated the missiles, and that's why they were taken out. Interesting to note, but note this part about the Brotherhood Lodges. He says they do exist, and the greatest enemy we face right now is Satanism. And he said that.
Really?
Yeah. And he said based on FBI reports, but I'm sure he had other intel to know that what's really happening on these higher levels and what the elites
Did he
doing.
tell you anything? Did he disclose anything to you about Satanism? Like, did he tell? What did your grandfather believe? Was he a Christian? Was he just he had no? But was he? I mean, was he an atheist? What did he believe in?
He was very spiritual. He went to a non-denominational church. He was Christian. He also gave lectures on the Urantia book, which talked about the seeding
Right.
of the universe and Earth with the different celestial
I
beings
ordered
and things
that
like
book, by
that.
the way, after you guys recommended that. I haven't read
Great
it
book,
yet.
Yeah.
great book. Yeah. And then he was also had some Native American ties, and he very much was aligned and attuned to a lot of the Hopi traditions and the Navajo out in New Mexico. He was very much into that heritage.
So he had a greater understanding about God. He believed in God. He was a God-fearing man. Did he believe in the big G, or did he believe in many little G's? What when you say he's spiritual, what did he really believe in?
He believed in
I
one
believe,
God, the
yeah,
Almighty.
one
Yeah.
one central source, yeah, of the universe, yeah.
Okay.
However you want to label it, right?
Right. I mean, nobody can
Well,
really explain what God looks like, or he's just everything, right? Omnipresence.
yeah,
Interesting.
exactly. And he knows that there's all sorts of religions and people that can, I mean, other beings can seem like gods to us, and that's what they were to us in the past, right? So he knew of all that, and the
Did he?
Anunnaki. He told all those
What was
stories.
his thoughts on Jesus Christ? Did he believe he was a prophet, a savior, I'm sorry if I'm getting a little too deep into this, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He didn't talk specifically that I know, Dan. He maybe more to you, but he was a believer in Jesus for sure, and a lot of different books on the Bible very heavily. He had the Bible with him all his life and studied that. He said in his testimony, "I've been a Christian all my life, ever since I was like 8 years old." And so he believes that God wants this known to the public, this disclosure, and one way or the other, it should be out to the
Did
public.
he ever mention anything of a firmament or a dome, maybe, or what was his belief on the actual structure, or the globe Earth? What did he believe?
He believed that
Definitely in that the
the conventional
traditional
universe, yeah,
universe
not a
with
flat Earth.
planets and no flatness and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but he also never said anything about a firmament or nothing or anything like that.
No, he didn't
Okay.
mention that.
Okay. I'm curious. That's all. I'm just trying to put more pieces of the puzzle together for my audience. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was the DCCCD I was talking about, and the Black Manta. He mentioned the TR3B Black Manta, and that's what he called it, and what it was known as in the military. So obviously there's all sorts of versions of that and how they're using this as disclosure. And we see it so many times now. And this triangle is everywhere now, it seems, with sightings. But there
He's
are some
we have a
document.
video of him like rattling off all the different bases that they fly those out of, and yeah, he knew all about these technologies. This was back in the 90s when he was talking about it. He knew quite a bit before then.
So I think we talked about this maybe on your general's tent, but how he was in this considered the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit for short, IPU. And we're trying to figure out what is this, and it's a stamp that he had that he put on all the documentation that he looked at. This is the actual stamp. It ties in right with the level of MJ12, but that organization started in the early 40s, like 42, before Roswell, so before MJ12 was created, because that was that came after, right after Roswell, and then of course the Air Force was created, all that at the same time, the same day, which is should speak volumes to people that this is happening within the same day, and the MJ12 later that week. But the IPU was earlier, and so he had a stamp, and he claimed he was a part of that organization, or was brought into that organization. And there's some documentation now that W25DC on the stamp. You'll see like to me, it seems like it's like an address, like, or it should be some part of an address. So I was curious to find out what that is. So I noticed from this document he puts in the book on the manual for ETs and how to deal with the crafts and disposal of the craft and the bodies. Like this was all back from the 50s, and it has that same Washington 25 DC right there in the Majestic 12 document.
Well, let me ask you this: how many crashes are we having a year or a month? I mean, is this a common thing here? I mean, it sounds like these beings travel the galaxy or the universe and then crash on Earth. I mean, it's like, what's going wrong? You know what I mean? Like, how are they doing interstellar travel, but oops, when they get to Earth, they crash?
That's kind of what I was trying to explain earlier at the beginning when he said the radar would affect it. Well, because they're phasing into our existence on the 3D plane. Like they don't have to be that way, but if they want to come down, if they want to, do surveillance or even just expose themselves and say, look, we're here, we're interested in what you're doing, or we're trying to tell you or warn you, don't do that. Well, then they have a chance of getting affected. But of course, they have the technology to go far above and beyond that and travel light years.
But the technologies that they use, I mean, I saw that Malaysia plane disappear,
right.
through a like dimensional portal. I've seen a video on that. So obviously we're using it. We're using their technologies, I believe.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
yeah, so obviously we already have this technology, unbeknownst to the people on the surface of this planet. We're already using this stuff. We're well deep into it, right?
100%.
Yes.
Our grandfather in his book talks extensively about the different crafts and the technology that was in existence in the 1930s that was basically replicating what down crash they found in all across the world. He talks about, and this a lot of it came from Germany, but it's replicating what they found in these various crashes. And that other document was that Eric just showed was from the Majestic 12 document, 1954. They have a whole manual on different types of extraterrestrial crafts that they found, and they've classified them. They have protocols on how to handle them, what to do with them. I mean, think about that. That was 1954. So this had been going on for at least 20 years, or if not maybe longer, for them to have all this information and have all this data to put these documents together and to know these things. And here we are, 75 years later.
So they're able to materialize into our reality. I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about when they see like I'm just using this as an example, but like even like Bigfoot, or Sasquatch, it seems like he's using the same type of technology. It's like these fades in and out of these frequencies, and how come we can't? I mean, why? I mean, why do we lack that technology? It almost seems like it's natural to these other beings to be able to do this. Are they just more highly evolved? Is it's an actual technology they possess? What is it?
Yeah.
I believe they're more highly evolved. They've come to master that, and we do have that ability. And our grandfather talks about that as well with the phenomenon of particleization. That's wave to mass to wave with our pineal gland, and humans can do that. And you hear about like
But not
the
our
rainbow.
physical bodies, though. Like our physical bodies, I mean, I can't imagine like dematerializing and then rematerializing out into another existence. I mean, what if you're missing an arm or,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
something,
mean,
you know?
the technology is there in our brains, but we don't know how to turn it on or how to use it. It's dormant for
Yeah.
sure. And
All those we call it junk DNA, but that DNA is there for a reason if we can unlock it and all this other strands that are available to us. And our DNA is probably the bridge that goes from the physical, what we know is physical, to all those other dimensions we want to access, but we don't realize how powerful the blood is and the DNA is. And that's why some of these beings take it and use it to our advantage. And all the other satanic stuff that's happening, all the occult stuff with blood, it's for that reason. It's a technology they're using. So,
So they
I,
some species rather has turned off our DNA. Would you say would that be kind of the
yeah,
assumption here?
that's a good.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I believe so. I believe we've either intentionally or not. I believe it has been shut down, and we've been stifled a bit in our evolution more than
Yeah.
we.
And they have documents. I mean, they're like Tibetan monks dematerializing. They call it the rainbow body when they figure out how to, disconnect from everything basically and get to that oneness. And they can. I mean,
Or by
people
location. By
have
location is
achieved
the
these
thing.
things. Yeah.
There's the Aborigines that do by location. There's other, yeah, the yogis, Tibetans that are able to do that. So it just shows you that's where we're headed if we stay in that enlightened state and are able to, ascend in that manner, in the right manner.
I
That's
mean,
the
I
advantage.
can't believe how much my intuitiveness picked up even just quitting drinking. Like now being sober for so long, I cannot believe how much my spidey senses have heightened. It's just crazy.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And remote viewing, our grandfather talked about remote viewing. So all the psychic abilities that are starting to come online now. I mean, it's a real thing. The military knew has been using it. They say it was shut down, right? That they stopped doing it. But of course, there've been us and the Russians have been using that for the longest time. The Chinese are probably far ahead of most of any other country in that sense. And we don't hear about that either. So that's just
Which
goes to
tells
show
me
you.
why they want to push alcohol and bread and circus and keep people dumbed down with sports and
Exactly.
Kardashians and alcohol and weed and I mean that would explain everything to me.
Our whole
Exactly.
society has been strategically designed to keep us complacent. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm leading to. This is part of the presentation. I swear it's like towards the end. I went down a rabbit hole before we did the conference and I tried to just kind of put some pieces together. So I'm kind of heading that direction and
Why,
I'll
why
show
don't we
you.
go there now, Derek, and then we'll go to the other stuff after,
That's
if you
what
want.
I'm getting to. And I that was just the address of the Central Intelligence Group where the IPU was originated that I thought was fascinating. But that led me down this rabbit hole, which I'll get to now, which is following these maps of DC. So I just happened to look at an old map and I was like, that's interesting. The Masonic Temple, the older, where in 1893, this is where it was located, like blocks from the White House. It happened to be the 33rd, with referenced in this legend, which shows you that these map makers are obviously like, they're Masons and they're part of the orders. So the layout of the DC is not by accident. Everything's kind of put in place for a reason. So then I was like, well, if that's where the old Masonic Temple is, where's the one we have now in DC? And so this is what I came up with, and I'm looking at how, again, the roads, the way the angles are of the roads in DC, and you obviously see this pentagram shape. Everything in red is a road. So that's not just me drawing; it's the actual roads along DC and the White House there at the bottom of the I guess the top of the pentagram, but in reverse. And I don't think that's by accident. But take if you take the center of the pentagram right there, and that's why I drew this cross, and you flip it upside down or flip it on its top, that's where the Masonic Lodge is, and that's the headquarters of all 33rd Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite Freemasonry. I mean, that is the major headquarter, one of the biggest in the world, really.
Wow.
It
And that
falls
and
under
that's exact symbology we found in that Masonic book that we just had on the other slide from our
right. So that's why
identical.
I'm making the tie here, and that's the Order of the Eastern Star. Now that was formed in 1850, but that symbolism and what they're using is ancient, and it comes from Egypt. And actually, there's ties to ancient Egypt. They called it the Blazing Star, which I'll talk about here. and how it's tied to Sirius, and the Sirius star system is very important to these ancient, especially in the occult, but ancient Egypt for sure. So just the pentagram obviously represents the Pentagon and why that was kind of put in that shape. I don't think by accident, and it's probably Masonic in the way they made the Pentagon when they built it. So I was making these ties, and I just thought it was very interesting. I'm sure somebody else has made that connection, maybe with the Masonic Temple and the White House, but I thought that was worth sharing. And there's a lot more to this in documents I've found. And I don't know if it's worth going to there yet, Dan, or I guess I can talk about this first, but
Might as well.
on that note, the Masonic and the Zionist tie, this book is called The Master Game, and a lot of great material comes from this book on the Masons, the history of the Masons, right back to like the Knights Templar and everything else. But it really shows you again the ties between the Pentagon and representing Sirius, or the blazing star in ancient Egypt. And so a lot of all the buildings, everything that's laid out, most of these major buildings within DC or any major city are basically like the cornerstone. The laying of the first stone is done on a particular date, and it's it's meant to be at a certain location, and it had to do with the Helical rising of Sirius, right when actually the Pentagon was being put down. So there's significance to that. And just by the way, the Pentagon was the groundbreaking of ceremony of the Pentagon was 60 years to the day of when 9/11 happened. So September 11, 1941.
To the day.
To the day, yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So there's got to be some reason for that. And what's interesting when you go and look at this, or when you look at what they wrote in the Master Game, they talked about how now the Zionist conspiracy, it's a conspiracy to all the world except for the Islamic terrorists and those and all of those within the Middle East, and why there's so much fighting over there, but why they take it so seriously that the Zionists, like Israel, is their arch enemy, and they're trying to take over the world one step at a time, but do it covertly and basically under the radar of everybody. And that's the whole Zionist conspiracy. If you read the Protocols of the Wise Men of Zion, it's just one of the books that I referenced that actually Bill Cooper talks about in Behold a Pale Horse. But that is supposedly this book from the Bavarian Illuminati from 1776, right around the same time that we founded the U.S. But that book,
I've read that book, Behold a Pale Horse, man. That book changed me forever.
Yes, it's a classic.
There's certain guys like William Cooper, Phil Schneider. I mean, true patriots, true heroes of this country, of this planet. These guys really put everything on the line to get it out there. And I guess you guys now, your grandfather would be considered one of them too, but you guys are really carrying the torch.
So and our grandfather said that he was good friends with Bill Cooper. He did what in the Air Force, what Bill Cooper did in the Navy, as far as this intelligence goes and the levels of clearance.
What did your grandfather say about Phil Schneider?
He said he was a dear friend that he sorely missed when they finally took him out. They exchanged a lot of information. What one knew, the other one didn't know, and so they learned a lot from each other, and a lot about the underground bases that our grandfather knew. Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that whatever these outer space beings are that we think are coming from other planets or dimensions are right under our feet.
Yes.
Exactly. And so that's why I was going to tie that into what the Dulce papers, the Dulce Files, is basically what is in one of the huge storage bins, like layers, pages upon pages of this. And our grandfather took it seriously, obviously. And I haven't even gone through it all yet. It's a huge amount of information, but what I gleaned from it is kind of summarized here. I mean, other than the fact, of course, the Phil Schneider testimony, the underground bases, it's subglobal. It's all over the world, under the oceans, everywhere. It's connected by these maglev type subtunnels and all these different, obviously, bases, like bases as big as a city you could hold, and some of them are natural. Some of them are from before the 40s, before the 50s, before we were even here. they're alien bases, right? Or they were natural bases that were carved out by advanced beings from long time ago, like millennia ago. So that's why we need to be, if there's any truth to this, if there is any truth to this, we are just a small little speck, in time and on the board of this big game that's been being played for thousands, if not, millions of years with our other beings. And now why they're putting factions of us against each other, but some alien races sided with some of the humans, whether they're on the surface or underground. There's a whole world, more than we know underground, as far as different races, different and human beings also, whether it was for when the nuclear fallout would happen, and they've tried to send a lot of the major scientists around the world. There was a huge, I forget who it was, about all the kidnappings, the people that just went missing in the 50s, especially. I mean, there's a reason for that, because they were sent underground for when the destruction of the earth was going to happen. They needed those smart people, the best of the best, to be there to maintain our race and the humans to thrive, survive. So there's this whole thing.
Do you think we're in this paradigm shift right now where like humans are breaking away from the amnesia and slavery and maybe starting to claim our own sovereignty?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think that's why so much is being exposed right now. And for better or worse, we're hopefully the majority of people are being awoken to it. I think some people are being black pilled to the point where they just don't care anymore. They're just giving up. It's just too much to handle, right? So how this is disclosed.
And I'll say this, just me doing these podcasts, bro, it's really hard to keep the light going inside sometimes when I hear information like this. And I don't know if my audience feels the same way, but it's hard. It's really hard, when to really believe and have faith when I keep hearing stuff like this, and everything just, it really tests your faith.
It does. Yeah. I totally agree. And I think that's why our grandfathers said, and even Nancy Red Star, who helped write the book, transcribe the book, she said that the thing people are going to struggle with the most, it's not the UFOs, it's not that aliens are here, it's all the Satanism, it's all the dark stuff, and that we're still affected by and have been for thousands of years. And it's all been happening right under our nose, right under our feet, literally right under our feet as well. By these factions. So,
but I mean, if that exists, then good has to exist. I mean, because I look at these people like they're massively deceived, but they're letting their ego get the best of them. They really feel like they're smart. They can outsmart the system. They can hack the matrix. They can outsmart God, and you can't,
Mhm.
and I think it's ego driven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So I just wanted to sum up that they're really pitting us against each other, not only on the surface, but underground too. If these factions exist, and obviously there's the human and ET intervention or relationship, that's normal. It's normal down there and those are the ones that are supposedly the 33rd degree Masons, the ones that had access to that. And there's the higher 33rd plus Masons that exist and are potentially the ones trying to survive while the rest of us destroy ourselves. And that really plays into, it's kind of weird, but it plays into this whole Zionist thing. If that conspiracy, if there's truth to any of that, they're kind of just been pitting us against each other for the longest time, so that no matter what, it's two sides of the same coin. They're going to get what they want at the end of the day. They're just making us think that one side is going to be any better than the other side. But at the end of the day, they're probably working towards.
And then if we destroy ourselves, we think it's God's will. It's just followed prophecy. We're like, well, God wanted. It said this in the Bible.
Exactly, and they're fulfilling the scripture, and that's done on purpose. The whole rebuilding of Solomon's temple, and that's really where this leads to. And it comes to the Masons and what their whole ideology is, and that's really why Israel, the state of Israel, was created when it was. Though it's not by accident, that's being done, and that placement, the actual placement, is on the 30th and 33rd degree parallel.
Wow.
That was something else that was in the master game, and they talked about all of this was a ritual in a way. The rebuilding of Solomon's temple is basically the state of Israel, and That's
That's how
supposed
we're going to know. Oh, so you're saying the rebuilding of Solomon's temple already happened with them giving them the state of Israel, or it's going to happen? I'm a little
I think
confused.
it's in the process. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
was the first step was
Okay.
getting that state created, and the fact that these are all Masons. The Roosevelt was a 32nd degree, Truman was a 33rd degree, and happened to coincide with the president's the 32nd, 33rd president, right? Um, there's so many things that ties into what's happening, and I can't go into so many coincidences that after a while it's no longer a coincidence, or it's so funny that we've been made to believe that a conspiracy is a bad term, or that it means you must be crazy. But the world is run by conspiracies. It is a conspiracy. It's people coming together for their end goal, like in secret, not letting the masses know what their end game is. That happens with business all the time and media all the time, and so of course it's happening.
That's
In
why in football you see them do a huddle. They're
Yeah,
conspiring for the next
Exactly.
play.
exactly. So it's nothing new. That's the way the world runs. As I've always said too, I've stated that too. The world, it's the world, the way it plays out. It's just a giant machine, and there's money that backs that machine, and there are people that have to run that machine. So follow the money, and that usually tells you where things are too. And this Epstein stuff. I mean, unfortunately, this is some of the darkest stuff, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, the very tip of the iceberg. That's why this is so controversial to get into the public, and how to handle it, and how it's going to be brought out. I think,
I don't think we're going to see the real meat and bones of this for another 5, 10 years, man.
yeah, most
Yeah, it's
likely.
going to take some time. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
what I think.
Trump's trying to be careful. I want to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, right? But
Right.
it's hard to it's hard to say whose side's on who's on the better or for worse. I think Trump is kind of a beacon of light right now, but that's not to say he's not in control of all of this. If you look at what we've shown you, this goes back thousands of years. They've been planning things like this for generations. So one president, it's going to help maybe change a few things, but it can't defeat the system, right?
I like I said, I've been worried about AI. I'm still worried about AI, and that's where we're going. So
Exactly. And that's something that our grandfather did, Ty, and he tried to be very positive about this millennium shift, that we, as long as we're waking up, if our consciousness as a group, individually, we're waking up, we're staying positive, on the right track, and just not being deceived. And if our eyes are open, then we have a better chance of getting through this together. So yeah, he really made a point of that we have no limitations, all these kinds of things, these ideas, based on and interaction with AI. AI can be good or bad, and that was the last chapter, talking about the wing makers, and even time travel and connections to that. These time capsules around the world, they're trying to help us evolve in the right way, but there is the potential for AI to come in and go in another direction completely. So I think we're right there. We're at the precipice of where we're going to go as a species. So it is critical.
I mean, if you think about it, AI is doing all the thinking for us now. Kids are using it to write their term papers. I mean, it's just like GPS took away any of us using critical thinking skills to work out the situation on a map. I mean, now it's just everything is done through the internet and AI doing all the thinking for us. What use do they have for us anymore? And I'm talking about like a generation from now, 2 generations from now. What capabilities are they going to have to even think anymore if AI is doing all the thinking for you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's why we
and
really need to cultivate awareness about this, and communities that are striving to maintain the physical reality that we live in, and the humanness of everything, and to relate to each other in that sense, and not lose a lot of the functionality of being a human being by giving it away to technology.
Correct. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Go ahead, guys.
no, that's really the sum of it. I mean,
Okay.
I try. I think I just wanted to lay that out, and there are so many ties to this Masonic and Zionist type of thing happening, and it's just being played out right now on the world stage. It's kind of hard to ignore that.
So would you
So
say you guys are more black pilled, or would you say red pilled or purple?
it depends on the day.
Yeah, no,
Right.
I get it, and that's why it's so important, guys, to keep your faith, man. I do. I mean, we are all obviously part of this larger picture, whether we want to know it or not. And sometimes maybe it's best not to know. That's how I see it. I just I really love the phrase, keep it simple, stupid. Like just for me, I just
Yeah,
stay close to God. I keep that light on in my heart. And that's it, man. And sometimes when you know too much, you do get black pilled, and because no matter how much you know, you realize how much you don't know, and you'll never
yeah,
figure it out. You're going to be a dog chasing
Right.
your tail always. Like even though
that
the information you all disclosed here still does not
yeah,
take my faith away from God, because I
Right.
oh not
know
at
there's
all.
good in this world. I know there's goodness. I feel it. Just because there's forces working against us, to me, that's the ultimate test. That's the challenge right there. That's what we have to overcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You can be
totally.
aware of the darkness and what's going on there, but you can't let it consume you and get down these rabbit holes to where that's all you are concerned about. That's only fitting in your reality, and it'll just take you down with it if you allow yourself to get caught up in it. So it's very important to stay grounded, to stay in your belief, to stay in your your true spirit and alignment.
Yeah, that's why I say, it's just ego. A lot of these people, that's why this new age religion or whatever, it's like we are our own gods, and it's like challenging God. To me, I'm just a co-creator of the great creator, and in no way did I create this universe or anything that all the stuff you guys are talking about right now. I know I didn't create it. I'm a part of it, but I didn't
Right.
create it.
Yeah, and that's why I put this here. So that exactly what you said. It's what you know is that small green circle. What I know I didn't know, a little bit bigger, but what you didn't know. I mean, it's
And then what's the whole white area?
right, right.
Right? It just keeps
Yeah,
going on and on and on. And it's like,
Right.
you know, even with my mom's dementia, like she saw me thinking one day she was in the wheelchair looking at me and she goes, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I just can't figure life out." She goes, "Life's not to be figured out. Life's to be lived." And that's with her dementia. She said that. And that was just so profound in me. It's just an experience. It's just a ride. Maybe we just need to enjoy it,
yeah.
and be
But
grateful that we are part of this.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. We chose to be here. I do believe there's always a purpose, and we were incarnated in this time for a reason because we're the souls that's going to help. We're supposed to be the bridge that helps bring, the whole baby boomer world or age into the what people call the new age or whatever you want to call it, the next stage of enlightenment. So
And whatever entities are here trying to destroy us or distract us or divert us, that's their karma. It's not ours.
Right.
yeah, yeah,
So they have to deal with the the uppercase G God, not us. They do. So that's their karma.
right.
Yeah.
We always have to start with ourselves, no matter what. If we
Right.
want to see the change, we've got to start from within. I mean, and yeah, there's a whole universe within us, and we're holographs or fractals of the whole, right? And that's how the universe works. So we do have to stay positive, but I do believe we have to be strong enough to face what reality is there, because otherwise it's going to keep manipulating us. It's going to keep us in subservience and everything else in some form or fashion. And I don't want the next generation to have to go through any more suffering or struggling, and especially if there's children involved or any of that. It's got to stop. It's got to stop, and it's got to be exposed. So
I
Yeah.
agree.
And our grandfather talks about our solar system is going through this, you know, position where it's evolving and it's going into the light. So a lot of the darkness and the stronghold of these egos that have been pushing us down for thousands of years, this is like the end of their line, and that's they're going to struggle hard as they can to hold on to it. So we are going to see some of that come out more as it gets exposed, but ultimately we have to understand and know that we are going into a better place, and that's the reason why we are seeing it at this moment, as dark as it may seem.
That's beautiful. It's like the twilight, right? We're like in that twilight part of this transitional phase, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, guys,
We
go ahead, Derek.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was about it, man. I totally forgot. We had like the information from insiders and corroborating evidence to basically show that to validate what our grandfather said in his book and who he was, what clearance levels he had. So I won't go into that, but just for people to know, they can find some of this information
Well, there's
from us
Tony
on.
Rodriguez. I've had Tony Rodriguez on my show quite a bit, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
Really,
what a great guy. Like doing some great work regarding remote viewing, and that's what he did. His team did that for us to validate our grandfather's information. So it just validated really that he worked in these highest levels and probably was a part of MJ-12 or worked directly with MJ-12, part of the secret, what they call the secret space program. But I mean, it's the predecessor, before that was even a thing. It was like he was kind of doing whatever involved in the underground bases and working in those experimentation stages, right? To start with. So just lots of information, but it just was a lot of validation for us we found in the last few years about this stuff. So just was gonna highlight that, but that's just stuff that people can go to our website and find out more too.
You want to show your website?
Yeah, you can catch us on our YouTube channel, which is Clear Thought, CLR Thought. And our show is called Shred the Veil, our podcast we put out on there. So
Clear Thought on YouTube?
yeah, CLR Thought. Yep.
Oh, CLR Thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
It stands for critical, logical, rational thought. Yeah, kind of our theme of discernment. Yeah.
If you want to show it, guys, yeah, why don't you show it real quick just to show where people should go to get more of this stuff, because it's wild. It's like,
sure.
It's, people got to really have an open mind for this, not shut it off. Because, I mean, that's what I pride my channel on, is just leave no stone unturned, And you guys are bringing a very important component to this, or piece to this puzzle, and it can't be ignored. It has to be looked at.
And we're both engineers. I mean, we're pretty logical, rational people. So, I mean, it took a lot to get into this, but we don't stop. We don't leave a stone unturned. We're trying to really get to the bottom of it. So,
right. Did you want to show the channel real quick?
Yeah, I'll show it real quick right now.
Okay. So people know where to go when they want to. Yeah, here it is, folks.
So yeah, Clear Thought, CLR Thought, our show Shred the Veil here. This is our channel. We've got quite a lot of content about,
and our dad's even validated a lot of information for us.
Yeah, different people, secret space program experiencers, some stuff on spirituality, physics, remote viewing, crystal technologies. We got Laura on there.
I just have
JFK. We have a lot of JFK stuff on there.
Nice.
The wing makers, if you want to learn about the wing makers and the ACIO. I mean, we got stuff with Dr. Sala, a lot of different things here for people to learn and explore. Yeah.
Beautiful guy.
And others' testimonies. Yeah.
And just to let you know, and we did mention it, but we're supposedly in contact through this medium right now with our grandfather. He's still trying to send us information and tell us some stuff.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Yeah.
Well, you guys are embarking on a hell of a journey, man. So thank you for doing this podcast with me. I appreciate it. I know my audience will. Folks, you decide. Take what you want out of this. It's amazing stuff to me. So, and there's more out there. Don't get mad at me. I'm just bringing the information, right? Thanks, guys. I appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much. God bless you guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Appreciate it.